All right, you saw the first video where I made a wall hook. I was taught this is a Tulip Bud Finial wall hook. This part being the finial in the shape of a tulip bud, very popular Moravian sort of shape. So I'm going to start with a piece of 1/4 inch round stock that's 6 inches long. If you want to start with a long bar, measure it out first and nick it with your Hardy to get more hooks in a similar shape, starting out with the same length of material. I also use tongs that have a groove, 2 grooves on each jaw, one so the metal can lay in this way, and when they're closed, the metal won't move back and forth this way. And then for the punch or other times, I can grip it in a cross section. Plus, I also put rings on many of my tongs or chain links. Once it's fitted properly, it does the gripping, and I don't have to squeeze with my left hand, and it greatly relieved carpal tunnel problems. So all I have to do is turn my hand to manipulate the piece. The first step I like to do is the tulip bud part. So I'm going to start and put a blunt point on this piece, and I do that by holding it at the edge of the anvil, the far edge, right up to the edge, and a bit of an angle on my hammer, and I have to pick the piece up a little bit, and I can get a blunt point pretty quickly. Then I bring it over to the near edge, and I hit with half on and half off hammer blows, and I'll hold it just a little bit low and a little bit of an angle. When I spread this out, I want to stay off that point. So we'll get a point to look similar to this. Then I bring it over to the edge of the anvil, and a glancing blow down and hit right on that point to curl up the top end. Then I'm going to punch it. I'm going to put a hole in it with a punch, and I put it up against the shoulder so I can feel it. Grab my punch, which also is being held by tongs, and I'll put it right here. Hit it really hard on the first blow. Don't tap it because you risk bouncing the punch off the spot. And then I'll turn it over and come from the front side. To go through, I use a bolster bar. My Pritchell hole is way too large, so I use bolster bars for smaller holes. And then I finish it from this side as well. The reason for a shorter punch being held in a pair of tongs, many reasons that makes a great advantage. If you have a longer punch, it absorbs more energy. Also, I find that having a shorter punch not only gets the energy where it needs to go faster, but if I'm holding on to a punch with my bare hand, I don't hit it as hard as if I'm holding it with a pair of tongs. Therefore, more energy put where you need it to go. Plus, I'm keeping a small bucket of water nearby so that, one, it's close and it's up on another bucket so it's high, and that way I don't worry about dropping parts into the big tub. After we have this punched, turn it around in the tongs, and I start working on a longer taper. Again, work to the far side. You can get a very sharp point regardless of how long you want the taper to be. You can get a nice sharp point, not up as high, a little bit lower, and less angle with a hammer. Once I get the taper and I round it up, then I will curl it by doing a glancing blow. I choke up and do a glancing blow over the edge of the anvil to get the curl to come up. Then I go over to the water tub, I cool the curl, and I do that same kind of glancing blow right here. and I'll do a glancing blow here, and I can just feed the metal into it, and it'll wrap right around the horn, and then I will only hit on the horn when I want to make an adjustment, and end up with a hook looking similar to this. Before I start pounding again, I already mentioned the importance of chain links on tongs, but I want you to pay very close attention to my right hand as well. I have a very, very loose grip on the handle. I've had tendonitis problems, and it came from having a death grip. You'll notice that I keep the hammer mostly in my fingers. I don't wrap and I don't put a death grip on my handle. That hurts my elbow. So there's some argument about thumb up on top of the handle being a problem for tendonitis. I've been around a lot of blacksmith groups and nobody's produced medical evidence that that's the problem or a factor for tendonitis in your elbow. However, what I will tell you is the way I hang on to the handle, it's a very loose grip. I normally keep my thumb on the side, and it sometimes looks like I'm going on top, but I'm literally lifting my thumb off the handle at times. It's a throw and a catch, and I'm letting the hammer bounce. If I have my thumb on top, the hammer can't bounce as well. By having my hammer on the side, it can bounce, and you can see how it's moving in my hand now. By having that loose grip and letting the hammer bounce, it gets up off the anvil higher, which means less energy for you. This is very tough work that we do. So in the future, watch my hands as much as you do the results I'm getting from how my hands are working. This is all about control. The ironwork doesn't have a brain. It's all going to react in how you hit it or control it and manipulate it. So now to the fire we go.
I thought some of you might appreciate seeing what I see most of the time. I'm going to make a Tulip Bud Finial hook, wall hook. Working on the finial. On the top, punch the hole. Edge of the anvil when you're making points. Whenever possible, you can get a really sharp point working at the edge of the anvil. Keep a loose grip, as loose as possible. Make the curl. Cool the curl. Glancing blows, not even hitting the horn. There, I am. There's the hook. Just check it for straightness, alignment.